All right, guys. Hi, and welcome to the Haunted Huddle Over Coffee. My name is Lauren,
My name is Nex.
My name is T.
and we are your hosts. During our show, we just like to talk about lots of urban legends, legends from nearby, local legends, things that have significance to our lives. I've always liked the spooky, as I believe my other two co hosts also absolutely love the spooky.
You bet your sweet ass.
Hex, yeah. So each one of us are going to be reading our favorite urban legends, and then we're all going to talk about it. So I am going to be reading about Humans Can Lick 2. Next, which urban legend did you decide on?
The 100-Step Cemetery.
T?
And I'm going to be talking about the Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah, I've never even heard about that, so I'm going to be so
Oh.
excited to learn about that.
It's a whole ass loophole. It's great.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So I hope everybody can get nice and cozy. Grab your nice warm beverage, and we'll get started. Okay, so gonna get started with Humans Can Lick 2. So just a little trigger warning for anybody who doesn't like hearing or reading anything about like animals being harmed. I would probably skip ahead just because this one does talk about animals getting hurt. So I do apologize. So the story originates in the 1980s, around 1984, but it is one of my favorites. And here's the story. There once was a little girl who had a lovely little dog. Her parents were on vacation and she was home alone for the weekend. The second night, she was sleeping on the couch and watching the news when a news story came on. Apparently, some psycho from the northern part of town was coming around and trying to kill children. The girl immediately went and locked every door and window in the entire house. That night, she went to bed as usual, and everything was okay because she put her hand down under by her bed and the dog licked it. But later in the night, she heard a drip, drip, drip. She put her hand down and the dog licked it, and everything was okay. So she went downstairs to check out the tap. The tap wasn't dripping. So she went back to bed. About an hour later, she wakes up again from the dripping noise. But now it sounded a lot closer, so she was way too afraid to leave the room. But she put her hand down and the dog licked it. She felt fine. But then again at 2 a.m., she heard it again, but it sounded like it was coming from the bathroom. So she put her hand down and the dog licked it. And when she went, but then she got up to go check it out and she opened the door and she screamed so loud that it could almost shatter the mirror. She opened the door and saw her dog was hanging from the ceiling with its abdomen slit open and all of its, insides on the floor. And on the mirror was written in blood, "Humans can lick too." And that's the end of that story. It has always given me the complete heebie-jeebies, mostly just because, one, animal cruelty, and two, because home invasion is something that's absolutely terrifying to me, because there are so many very sick people out there in this world that they would do something to like hurt other people just to do it.
This is why I
Yeah.
don't trust people.
I don't think anybody trusts people anymore.
No, there are still
Isn't
some.
most of the human race just isn't worth trusting anymore.
No.
And what's
You are
scary,
humans have always had a fear of other humans subconsciously. It's like that same thing of like people like you feel something behind you, and 9 times out of 10 there's either nothing there or it's a fucking mannequin or a doll.
yeah,
Or that
Like some
sense
people
of
that can't go into department stores because of that feeling.
or
like
What?
that sense of being stared at and you're trying to figure out
Where it's coming from.
but you can't pinpoint it.
That's why, like, if you ever feel like you're being stared at and you're somewhere you're not normally, like you're at, like, I don't know, like a department store or like somewhere and there's like windows or glass that's like a mirrored glass, put your finger to it, and if your fingertips touch, like dead like this, it's a two-way mirror. Somebody can see you on the other side.
Also, if anybody hears creaking, it's my broken ass fucking chair, and my dog is pulling me.
And there we go. We just went to explicit real quick.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oops.
Oopsie, it's fine.
I was gonna say, like, we have two New Yorkers And so would
Long
New Jersey.
Islanders.
Long Islanders.
There's a
But
difference.
But then I was also
God.
raised by a person who had a sailor mouth, so every other word out of her mouth was fuck.
Me? I'm the problem?
I know I'm the problem.
Am I the problem?
Is it
Yeah.
me, Jesus?
Do you think I could be self-sabotaging?
Hi.
No, but I think overall, like, it just shows you, like, people are weird and creepy. Like, think about it. What kind of, like, level-headed person wants to lay underneath somebody's
And lick
bed and just lick their hand throughout the night?
Why did you stay there throughout the night is my question.
I don't know, I'd be going to, like, another room. I'd be, like, looking
would've
around. I'd probably take the blicky out.
Well, you don't know. Like, this is, like, some little girl. Like, they don't say, like, the age. Like, there's another version of the story that it's a little old woman, and she's got a little dog. The same thing happens to the dog, but in the other story with the old woman, the little girl or the old woman, they get killed. They find her, like, upside down, like, inside her closet.
Out style upside down?
Yeah, like, full on, upside down, hands down, slit, like, crosswise, like,
They
you know.
bled her.
What were they trying to do? Make human jerky?
Maybe.
I don't know, but all it says is there's, like, this killer on the loose. I'm sorry, if there's a killer on the loose and I'm home alone, you know what my ass is doing? My ass is getting all the animals in the car, and we are driving someplace. So, Nexie, you want to talk about yours, the 100-Step Cemetery?
So it's not a story like how yours is that has just been through 50 million reformations as the years have gone on. It is literally like one of those like localized, like, this place is creepy kind of thing, so we made this myth to go around it.
Yeah, it's like a lore.
Yeah. So the 100-Step Cemetery is located in Indiana, specifically in the town of Cloverland. I think it's the town. I think that's the town's name, if not, like, just relatively where it is. But regardless, it is Cloverland's cemetery. And so the history of it is that, like, it's like most other places, because we have cemeteries that are, like, on stretches of hills. This one just is nicer and has, like, an actual, like, instead of just crappy-ass cement walkway, there is an actual small stair path up the hill. Like, I've seen pictures of it, so essentially the 100-Step Cemetery faces on, like, the western side of the hill, so coming up the stairs, I'm pretty sure, you're gonna see, like, the road that goes over there. The cemetery was established around the time of, like, the American Civil War. It's still an active cemetery, so you can still get plots there, I guess. I don't know how big it is. I haven't found that information. But obviously, if it's still active and it's still relatively, like, kind of new. But it is called the 100-Step Cemetery because, as you've probably assumed, the fucking staircase that we were talking about is roughly 100 steps. So once you reach, like, the summit point, it's 100 steps, supposedly. And I say supposedly because then we'll get into that. But county officials, like, have changed the staircase so it's still up to date. You're not going to, like, break your neck on it or anything. So it's well taken care of, and they've kept it relatively the same. And so here's the actual legend behind the cemetery. So the common legend is that any guest that climbs up the stairs must count the exact number up the stairs. So each step you take, you have to count 1, 2, 3, and at the top of it, you should reach number 100. So the story is that you count the steps correctly, like you didn't miscount or something, or you didn't cheat and go around the steps, or try to just walk up the hill, and then step into the path. The ghost of the very first caretaker of the cemetery will appear to you, and the specter itself will give you a vision of how you are supposed to die. And then after receiving said vision from this haunting individual that just appears to you in the middle of the pathway, you turn around, you walk back down the stairs. count each single step, just like you did when you came up.
Mm-hmm.
If you count the same number of steps down that you came up with, so if you hit 100 once you hit the bottom of the summit, that means the vision was wrong. So whatever possibly horrific thing you might have envisioned of your way of death probably won't happen to you. If you've counted a different number of steps on the way down, then that means the vision that was given to you is true and you are fated to die in a similar way. Now, if you actually follow these rules and you go up the stairs, you count the numbers, you go back down, count the same numbers, all of that should happen, allegedly. If you are a douche and you try to cheat, like walking off the stair, like the stair path, or just simply going around it and going up the hill, you will feel somebody push you back down. And for like the next several days, you will have like this handprint bruise wherever you felt that push. So it will not let you walk up the hill if you don't take the stairs. And if you do not count. So if you're just straight up walking mindlessly up the stairs, somebody's gonna be like, nah, push.
Like you don't know about the legend. He's like, walk up the stairs, like staircase.
Push you back down.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, come on, how many adventures have you and I been on? Let's go this way, and we end up.
We
in,
don't
like,
know where we are.
We don't know where we are, and we end up somewhere. And I'm like, ooh, staircase. Let's walk up the staircase, and I don't know about it. And I'm just like, what the?
I think that it's funny that specifically the story has like been added. If you're walking up the stairs and you're not counting, it's all presumed that like the same spirit. So the ghost of the first caretaker is the one that's pushing you. No, don't walk up the stairs. Don't go up that hill. You're not allowed then.
How am I also gonna go visit like
grass?
What?
Maybe he'll disturb the grass. He worked hard on the grass.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you're walking up the stairs and you're not counting, you're still gonna get pushed. So I'm like, there's no winning. How are you gonna get to the dumps?
And what if I'm just really bad at math? There's a reason why I have a BFA and I have an associate's in art. I'm not good at math. I sit there at work at night and I count my draw, and it literally takes me 20 minutes to count. Because mind you, it's like a cash draw. So I've got, usually it's like $9 worth of like loose quarters I have to count. Like, I'm bad with numbers. Like, what if I'm just really bad at counting?
I guess you're gonna get pushed down those stairs a lot.
Yeah, but also, like, the cashier, you have to make sure that your drawer is like that amount of money, or else.
But I can sit there and go, 1, 2, 3, stack of 10, stack of 10, stack of 10, and I can count that way. Walking down the stairs, what am I gonna go? I think I miscounted and walk all the way back up the stairs and count again as I go back down.
If they don't push you first, then yeah.
The ghost demon would just like look at me like, this is where humanity is. Okay.
This is why humanity is lacking.
This is why.
But yeah, that's essentially the story. I don't know why I find it so funny that, like, essentially something's sitting there waiting for you to miscount.
So you
or you step off the path and they're like, no.
I just found somebody off of angelfire.com. Not sponsored whatsoever. I was just looking up about the 100 Steps Cemetery. No,
what
it's
does
like
Angel Fire have to do with this?
I don't know, but that's like a pretty badass name for a website, just saying. But like, I found it, and it's Brazil, Indiana, is where it is, off of Highway 40. So don't go there if you're bad at math and you can't count very well.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which town it is because different, like, stories say it's Cloverland and then they say it's Brazil, Indiana, and I'm like, make up your mind, unless it's like how we are on Long Island, and if you're right on the town line, you're fucked. It's a 50-50 shot.
Where I used to work, I had a place where it was right on the border of Ronkonkoma, Islip, and Bohemia.
I'll find it, I promise.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how most Long Islanders direct each other, is just like telling you a landmark or a building that's there.
Like, you know, if you're driving down Middle Country, you know, you're going towards like if you pass third McDonald's, you've went too far. You only want to pass 2.
Honestly, we're on the island, so either you're gonna hit the city or you're gonna hit water. So eventually, you're gonna have to find out where the fuck you are.
See,
Yes.
anytime I've driven on Long Island, my sense of direction just goes out the window. My brain is not connected to the magnetic sphere at all. I can't tell you which direction is what.
Driving with Tony up here is the funniest shit.
I know. I drove with you and Tony.
I don't know where I'm going, and usually I have a pretty good sense of like north, south, east, and west. But when I'm like up there, my brain just disconnects from the planet completely, and my sense of direction gone.
It's like the Bermuda Triangle for Tony's directional instincts.
Because like I drive around DC, I know which if I'm going from like
DC is literally labeled alphabetically. I know.
exactly. The more north you go, you're gonna hit Z Road. You have like your little tiny ones.
Is that why our government's the way it is? We literally had to alphabetically order, like, label our streets. It's like, if you go north, it's gonna go Z. Is that 1 to 10?
Goes from like 1 to like 20. I don't know how far it goes. It goes pretty far. I just know where 18th and 19th is because I used to have to drive there. You're talking to a person who didn't realize they were driving past the White House every time they went to the office.
The face.
There's a lot of There's a lot of like federal cops here. What's so special?
He didn't think about it. Just oh.
No, I didn't.
I love this island. I grew up right by this island. It's just 100 miles long. Knock it off. It's not that big.
The smallest thing in the whole wide world.
People keep moving here. Stop coming here. Unless you want to come see us.
This is a public service announcement from every Long Islander ever. Stop moving to Long Island.
Listen, Long Islanders are also the nicest, mean people you'll ever meet in your entire life.
Unless you're my ex-boss.
Yeah.
Your ex-boss is a crock of shit.
But I truly mean that because, like, you could be broken down on the side of the road and some guy or some woman are going to come over and be like, what, you don't know how to fucking change a tire? They'll
stop and they'll help you.
Yeah, but they will criticize you and they will literally talk shit about you the entire time. They are helping you change a tire.
That is most people on this island at a certain age.
Around like 45 to like 80.
Yup. All of the people in those demographics, they're going to see you having trouble wherever you might be. They're going to criticize you, but they're going to help you as they're doing it.
It's like, what? You don't know what you fucking doing? Okay, shut the fuck up, alright? You know what? You need a new tire. Go down the road. Go to Dino's. Tell him that Vinny sent you. He'll hook you up real good. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Alaskans are, though. Is they're not gonna like make fun of you. They're gonna be like, "Oh, I see your car broke down over here. Are you cold? Do you need something warm? I'll help you get your tire out of that snowbank."
But that's like just nice people fault. And then there's New York nice people.
Look, Alaskans already have to band together against the moose. Like
New Yorkers also just live for drama. Long Islanders specifically.
That's because y'all are so tiny, you're in each other's businesses.
Exactly, and we've got nothing better to do here.
Horrible crimes happen along Long Island every single day, like bad crimes. And I don't. But the thing is this, you always hear about Florida man doing this, Florida man doing about this. That's only because the law in Florida is like if a law is, if something has happened for the first time that breaks the law, they have to report it and they have to, like, you know, make it known. Thing is, everybody from Long Island, once they get to retirement age, goes to Florida.
Yeah.
It's death's waiting room.
Essentially, yeah. My grandparents refuse.
Good.
Oddly, my grandfather's adamant. He's like, I'll deal with snow until I die. I'm not going to fucking Florida.
But speaking of death, we should
segue.
Speaking of death, I'm going to talk about the Dyatlov Pass, which seems to be kind of coming back in and out because there's either new evidence or there's new investigations being opened or like the prosecutors. We don't know what's going on with Russia, but like Nobody
Do we ever?
stop poking Russia with the stick. We don't want them. I mean, if they hit the boob button, I don't care. Too chicken to do it. They're playing chicken. Anyways.
Like everywhere else.
So the Dyatlov Pass incident happened in 1959, February. So it was still pretty cold, pretty wintry, right? But it involved 10 people taking a trek into the Ural Mountains. 9 of these people did not make it back.
Okay.
They all passed away, tragically and horribly. The one person that did survive, he had to turn around for medical reasons. So he was the only survivor of that trek.
He had to turn around, so he didn't make it up the pass?
Nope. He didn't even get, like, to that point. I think they stopped in a town, and he ended up having some medical issues, and then he couldn't keep going with them. But it involved 9 people.
So they all carried on without him at the town?
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, like, he was alive. He was expecting them to check back, because they were supposed to check back in with their club, because this was for, it was, like, for a natural club. So these people were very skilled in what they did. They were very skilled in hiking, making sure that they had all their supplies, all their food. They weren't amateurs by any means. This is also one of the hardest treks to do, especially in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was, during one night that they were camping, nobody knows what happened, but the evidence that we have is that they had scrambled to get out of the tent. Instead of going out the tent like you would, they had cut a hole in the tent, and they all tried to scramble out. They didn't have all their gear on. They didn't have any other supplies with them. They were panicked enough to run out of the tent. They found all the bodies. And this is where it gets even weirder, right? Because there was radiation on their clothes.
In the middle of bumfuck nowhere?
In the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Nobody knows exactly what happened, but each of the bodies have, like, different markings. I think they said one of the bodies had what looked like somebody had beaten the shit out of them. They had, like, baton markings. There were, and each set of bodies was found in different parts. So there were 2 bodies found by the tree line where they looked like they were trying to take cover in the tree line. Another set was found in a burrow or dug away that they were trying to, like, hide from the elements and stick together, because again, these are, like, negative temperatures, very cold, trying to huddle. Clothes were taken from the bodies of the other 2 because they had passed, and so, you know, pulling clothes to keep yourself warm.
Yeah.
These folks were also found dead. And then the last 4 were found down a creek with their soft tissues missing. So, like, your eyes, your tongue, super weird, and there's there's so many different theories that they think. Like, they think maybe a slab avalanche, but that doesn't make any sense because of the fact that, like, you wouldn't really find any of the bodies till maybe spring. Which, granted, they did find a couple of the bodies in spring, but if your body's in the cold temperature, your body's not going to deteriorate very quickly.
Yeah.
Which is why the soft tissues, like their eyeballs and the tongue being kind of plucked out, is kind of a weird thing that, like...
Take off your skin.
Oh, you have my mother's eyes. Yeah, they're in the bottom of my bag.
This is bad.
They're just in this mason jar I like to hold for safekeeping.
Yeah.
But for one example, I'm not even going to try to pronounce some of these names because, oh my god, I'm not good and I do not want to butcher them. But one of them that they found, there was internal bleeding and severe chest trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There was one where, like, there was a fatal skull injury, severe chest trauma. Avalanche wouldn't necessarily, like, do that to you, right?
No.
And knowing that the bodies are kind of, like, scattered in different areas around this, which is why it's kind of weird. And then the fact that they brought in, like, radiation detectors. Of course, this is, like, 1950s, 1960s. We have nuclear arsenal by this point because stuff we used in
Well,
Cold
you
War.
were bringing on a fucking nature walk. Now, where are you?
And so this is the other weird thing is there was another group of hikers that were just south of them that
And
had
they're
seen like
fine?
orange. They're fine. They had seen orange lights in the sky, which is why the other theory is UFO and or aliens.
What about, well,
And which,
flares are red or orange?
but it wasn't.
You would
That's the
have
thing.
seen a flare shoot up,
Yeah,
not just
these were
hover in
already
the
in the
sky.
sky. So that's it's still weird. It's still like an ongoing thing. Russia recently, like as of like 4 years ago, uh, fired a prosecutor, hired another prosecutor. So it's still very much they'll open and close this case over and over again because this case is just bizarre. And the
Essentially,
amount
who
of
done it?
who done it, and they don't know who done it. They don't know like why the bodies were scattered, why they had even left the safety of their tent to begin with.
Yeah.
I'm convinced now that this is just going to be a thing. That it's just going to be like a little like Husky segment because he can't decide if he wants to be in the room with me or outside. Please hold.
Oh, Toad's the same way right now.
And there's also other theories as to what had happened too. Like they think that they were attacked by a Mansi.
You were attacked by what?
A Mansi.
What
They
the
were
fuck?
local tribesmen who were known to be peaceful, and there was no track of evidence approaching the tent. There was like nothing.
My whole thing is, so because in the cold, like people's bodies deteriorate like so much slower than they do in like other temperatures. Like, what is it? It's water, cold, and like water and cold, like the two things that could like severely like slow down deterioration. How do we not know if like that guy who went back for medical help, like if he didn't go off and kill all these people and then just go back and be like, I needed help, I needed medical help, because he went alone, right, to go get medical help?
Okay,
That's
but
the
how
thing.
many
He's
other
got
people?
alibis. Yeah, he's got alibis that he went home. He had gone back to the school that they came from. He was
Oh, like he left.
yeah, he didn't stay with them at all. He didn't stay in that town. He went back home.
Oh, so he didn't even start the trip.
No. He right before it got difficult, he had some medical issues that wouldn't allow him to continue to go.
I don't know. That is definitely very freaky. Means that there was symbols carved into them.
There were symbols carved into them.
That's symbols, but like if you ever get like beaten or like you suffer a violent death, there are telltale marks of like what you were beaten with. Like it was like a weird shaped bruise that may have been from a baton.
Okay.
So they don't know if somebody may have like tried to kill them, but then there's no evidence of somebody being up there with them. As far as they knew, they were the only 9 people there.
It's 9 people. It's not like 1 or 2.
It's 9 people total.
So 9 people. Something freaked them out that they didn't exit out of their tents normally.
They didn't have all their gear on. And like I said, they weren't amateurs by any means. They were all experts in survival.
But they had gotten really freaked out because you said that they like slashed through the side of their tent instead of using like the opening.
Yep.
So
Something
no,
had to
I'm
have
not
gotten
going to sit here and put my gear on and unzip my tent. No.
No, and then when they're taking clothing from some of the other bodies, like the 2 that had, they think like the 2 that were already outside by the tree line had been out there before everything had happened, and that they had gotten to the tree line as a form of protection.
Which obviously didn't work, but...
No, because they still died. But
were they still beaten as shit? Like, were all of them beaten?
Not all of them, because some of them are, I think, as far as like I see, 2 is just due to physical chest trauma, and then 1 due to fractured skull. The other 6 were from hypothermia. But that still doesn't explain that some of the bodies had missing soft tissues, because they found, and they don't know if it's like maybe scavengers had found them, because you do have scavengers up there, but in the dead of winter, there's not really a lot of animals.
Even then, you would have seen damage to other parts of other tissues.
It wouldn't just be specific soft tissues.
Because I'm sorry, scavengers are not that dainty. I'm gonna rip everything apart to get to what I want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the main person that had survived, his name is Yuri Yelimovich. But he left expedition on the 28th of January due to illness. He died 27th of April 2013.
So he died like right after this like expedition happened.
No, he died in 2013.
2013. I thought you said April 13th. I was like, so he died right after this. The guilt.
The guilt.
You're no. I don't think he had anything to do with that because that's still a very hard trek to do by yourself.
Especially since he would have had to start that trek so much later than them. He wouldn't have enough daylight.
No, he wouldn't. That's like I said, and when they're picking up radiation on the clothes. That's not like anything smaller detail. Like, how did you know you were going to test for radiation? But then again, this was also 1959. 1947 was when the Roswell crash happened. So
I feel like they were testing radiation everywhere.
You can actually look up the pictures too. They have pictures of where like people were where these people were hit, where these people had suffered major traumas. There are pictures that you can see. Some of them are like in the snow, some of them are not in the snow.
That's just really strange.
And nobody really knows what happened. And as much as people want to say like, oh no, it can't be aliens. Like, do you believe that we are the only things out here?
Absolutely not. There is no physical way. Like, they found on like a planet, it's like 18 trillion years away, like years away. They found city lights, like lights that we have in like New York City, like flashing, blinking lights. They found them on another planet.
Yeah, like I'm actually looking it up on the website because they do have a website just dedicated to this where you can actually see all the pictures and all the evidence and everything that they have and where each of the bodies were found, specifically like which ones were. And it's just as bad as the Reservoir Man. So if anybody actually like looks it up, like don't look up the Reservoir Man.
But
What
that's
is
what
the
it makes me
Reservoir Man?
think of.
It wouldn't be the only case where certain like soft tissues were removed because Reservoir Man had soft tissues removed, and then I think there was another one within like the US military where that had happened too. I really think aliens just want like certain parts of us, but I'm a crackpot. What do I know?
I'm a crackpot. What do I know?
That like even one of them that the pass is actually named after, he's missing a tooth. They found like he had like one incisor missing.
That's weird.
He had a purple-gray discoloration on the back of his hand.
Oh.
His left hand was.
Are you
was
looking up the Reservoir Man? Is that what you're saying? Ew.
Yes.
But it's a very similar thing. Like, with the pass. Like, this man literally was just skinned alive.
And like some of the muscles like taken out through like a hole in his arm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like somebody went and made like a muscle Slurpee and then like.
Wait, what did you just say? What is it? A what Slurpee?
A muscle Slurpee.
That's a sticker waiting to happen.
It's spooky season and I will start making creepy ass stickers. Just give me a reason. Yeah. The Reservoir Man is an incident that happened in September of 88. A horrendously mutilated body was found on the banks of Billing Reservoir. With his skin peeled from his face, his eyes were gouged out. Graphic warning. His rectum and scrotum were removed. And
How do you
all of his
remove someone's
organs.
butthole?
I don't know. Not all of his organs. Some of his organs were sucked out of a small circular opening made in his body, and the wounds looked completely unnatural.
So
Draw in the circle.
Oh, here's the other thing on one of the bodies from the Dyatlov Pass. In the hair of the deceased expert found particles of moss and pine needles. Hair is burned on the right side of his head.
Hold on. What?
Wait, moss?
Moss and pine needles, and then his hair was burned on the right side of his head.
See, now, I'm not sure of the exact area of the pass,
Right.
but the moss and everything doesn't surprise me as much as his hair being burned.
That is why, like, avalanches, killing them has been, like,
There's no fucking way.
It's like fire underwater.
Well, you can't put fire underwater. Like, there's, like, water flares.
You know that's not what we mean, though.
No, I know that, but, like...
But genuine, non-man-made objects. So, just fire being underwater, naturally, it's not a thing that happens. Like being burned, like a burn from a fire under snow.
So there are, like, some, like, UFO / like, alien abduction stories where, like, certain patches are just burned, and there's, like, certain amounts of radiation, and nobody really knows, and there's no... I'm not saying, like, could be aliens, but, like, I'm gonna pull that guy from Ancient Aliens. Because there's just no way of, like, explaining it away. Like, you can't explain everything away using human nature because, you know, we're not we're not know-it-alls.
No, 100% you can't try to sit there and tell me that, like, it's definitely not natural, like, whatever it was. But, like the burn on the side of his head, maybe... Yeah, sorry.
I was like, the only thing I can really believe is, like, the hypothermia, because their fingers, lips, like, extremities, like, stuff that is easily frostbitten. If you're not careful, like your toes, your nose, fingers. I've never been frostbitten, but those are usually, like, the first things that start to, like, get really cold.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them had hypothermia. That's, like, the leading cause of death, but a lot of them had other injuries that don't make sense.
So it said that there were supposed to be 9 of them, right? That actually made it up there?
Yep.
Where were the other motherfuckers found? Because you said 2 of them were found in the tree lines.
2 of them were found in the tree lines, I think. Because the bodies were kind of spread out. I think there were 4 found by the creek, which left 3, I think, in the tunnel that they had, like, tried to dig out to keep themselves warm from the elements. Which, from what I was reading, said they succumbed to, like, their wounds and hypothermia because they were, like I said, they were ill.
No, because something obviously startled them.
Like, mind you, I think...
Died. No, keep going.
No, like, when you say, like, the tent was slashed, I'm thinking of, like, one of those, like, you know, big canvas tents, you know, your stereotypical, when you think tent, like, triangle little tent, that's what I think of, like, obviously.
That's what it was. It was one of those large triangular prism tents. And instead of going out the front, they had cut a hole in the side.
Yeah, it's seriously insane to me.
It fascinates me, and I remember doing this for my job too as well, because it was like an article for a magazine, and they were doing simulations, and I remember it just popping back up because they've opened this investigation like 3 different times since it happened, like 2 or 3 times since it happened, and like they still can't like pin down what happened. And instead, you know, it still is like avalanche is still a theory, but so are katabatic winds.
But that doesn't explain the soft tissues being, like, taken away.
Nope. For every theory that they have, there is a reason why that theory cannot be a possibility.
Well, there's got to be a way, like, it's multiple things. It can't just be one thing.
Yeah, and they think with, like, the katabatic winds, which explains some of the trauma.
Now I'm going to be a moron.
I'm glad you asked.
I'm going to be absolutely stupid and I'll own up to it. What are those?
I have to look it up myself, but so they can actually reach, most are not very intense by any means, which is why, like, this had to be a very strong, like potentially strong katabatic wind.
Mm-hmm.
But they say like for most of them they reach maybe 10 knots, which is 19 kilometers an hour or 12 miles per hour or less. So they think that like a unnaturally powerful katabatic wind came and swept these people off and scared the
Mother
shit out of
Nature
them.
really just said, fuck y'all. In particular, the people down the hill, fine. I don't care about them. You.
But like I still don't believe it would be a katabatic wind. It just
No, because that seems oddly, like, targeted area.
and there, there was another group of hikers like further south. They had witnessed events of like, what the fuck are these orange things up here? And
Did nobody look into these orange things? Like, were there flares, like, in the campsite? Or in the remnants of the campsite? Because they had to have gone up there with flares.
not that I am aware of, but then again, this is also like 1959, so like
Nobody thought to write about the flares if there were any.
When flares were invented.
I feel like you would have had them at that time.
So here's some contradictory evidence. The location of the incident did not have any obvious signs of an avalanche taking place. An avalanche would have left certain patterns and debris distributed over a wide area. Bodies found within a month of the event were covered with a very shallow layer of snow, and had there been an avalanche or sufficient strength to sweep away the second party, these bodies would have been swept away as well. This would have caused more serious and different injuries in the process and would have damaged the tree line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So couldn't it be like a little mixture of everything? Maybe there was an avalanche first, then the catabanic winds, and then maybe they all just went fucking crazy. Like maybe something happened inside that tent by one of the guys. Like think about it, they're going up there for like these experiments or whatever. Maybe they had something in it, like burnt out the soft tissues in their body, and like half of them ran for the tree line, and then the avalanche came, and then the catabanic winds came. That would explain everything.
You better start copywriting whatever you say before somebody turns it into a movie or a book. I mean, you have a point, though.
Like it's
Because obviously
more
one
than
thing's not going to add up.
yeah, no, it's got to be a several of like things together, and then
There have also been over 100 expeditions since this thing happened to go to the same pass, and none of them could recreate like the things that had happened to these 9 individuals.
well, think about it. If you're gonna do something like that, like let's say it's a mass murder or something like that, like it's human. Well, let's say it's human. Don't you think also like what killer goes back to the same point more than once? Nexie is typing something fierce.
I am so sorry.
Then there's also like footprint patterns too, leading away from the tent were inconsistent with someone, let alone a group of 9 people running in panic from either real or imagined danger. All the footprints leading away from the tent and towards the woods were consistent with individuals who were walking at a normal pace.
So what'd you do? Just walk all the way out there and just keel over?
Just sleepwalking. Somebody farted really bad.
Death? Somebody farted really bad.
That's it. It was so bad it melted out their eyeballs and tongues.
All the soft tissue, it gave them radiation.
Listen, I have a brother who has celiac, and if anybody who knows about celiac, it means he's actually allergic to gluten. Not intolerant, like he's actually allergic. When that boy gets cross-contaminated, my God, you need to be wearing a fucking gas mask. I know he's not going to listen to this. He's not going to listen to this.
He doesn't really have a leg to stand on if he was going to listen to it and argue about it.
And anybody who has celiac who's ever been cross-contaminated. So a fart caused an avalanche and then the catatonic winds.
I mean, let's be honest, you're on the mountains and there's a lot of snow. Any little sound that you make could potentially trigger an avalanche.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that they think is one of the theories is infrasound.
Somebody just fucking sneezed in their sleep.
No, this is actually very dangerous for humans because it's at a pitch that could cause panic attacks. Hold on, let me actually look it up so I get it right. It's the sound waves with a frequency below a lower limit of human audibility. But it's to the point where it could actually, like, make us vomit, make us puke. It could send us into a panic attack.
But they weren't panicking.
That's what the,
Well, like, people have panic attacks. It's not always running around and screaming. Like,
I know,
my
but
person.
if you're having perfectly calm footprints in the snow, you're having a panic attack. You're not walking completely calm, like, even stepped. You're in somewhat of a hurry to get away from whatever, like, you think is happening.
Definitely,
And,
this
like,
is what
honestly, if it was, like, the 6 of them that, like, had wandered off into who knows where and just died of hypothermia. If all 6 of you within, let's say, like 5 minutes of each other, everybody got out of their tent, and not even in a calm fashion, somebody sliced side of their tent. I don't know if it was on all tents or if they were sharing tents or what have you.
There was only
so
one.
all 9 of them were crammed in a fucking tent.
All 9 of them were, and it wasn't like a small tent. It was like a rather large tent. And even with, like, the avalanche, they're like, this is the wrong direction of, like, where this would
Where it
actually
would have happened.
Buried. Yeah.
But, like, there's 9 of you in a tent. It's a little claustrophobic. I don't care if you don't have claustrophobia. It's not comfortable being with that many people in a confined area.
Oh, yeah, no.
So, the deputy head of the investigative department in the prosecution office was still alive in 2015 and had given an interview to former prosecutor Leonid Proshkin, in which Akashev stated that he was arranging another trip to the pass to fully investigate the strange deaths of the last 4 bodies when Deputy Prosecutor General Urakov arrived from Moscow in order the case shut down. So, like, anytime they actually do try to, like, figure this stuff out, somebody higher up is like, no. But then, you know, Akashev also stated in his interview that Proshkin, head of the prosecutor's office, was present at the first postmortems in the morgue and spent 3 days there, something Akashev regarded as highly unusual and the only time in his experience it had happened. So, obviously, the prosecutor knew something else was up, and they weren't allowed to really say it because, like, government likes to hide a lot of stuff. The government definitely knows a lot more than they let on, because guarantee you, there was
It'll
something
start
big.
a panic.
It'll start a panic. I'm not sorry about that.
For a whole fucking graphic.
People out of the tent?
What about the people out of the tent?
No, she says if it comes out, it comes out. I'm like, oh, like the people in the tent.
Oh. Very calmly, very demure.
I'm very demure.
Actually,
very
they were very
cutesy.
mindful.
Maybe cutesy, but not demure.
They probably definitely went to work with the green cut crease, especially after that hypothermia.
I like that now we're just popping jokes about these poor dead people.
Look, RIP, may they rest in peace. It's tragic that they all died the way that they did. It sucks, but, you know, this is also, like, still just kind of a mystery, and I hope their loved ones feel kind of better about whatever is, like, you know, that they get some closure and peace as well.
Yeah. They'll find out in, like, 20 years, like, when the aliens come down, like,
oh yeah, that was us. Sorry,
yeah, sorry
guys.
about that. We just came down to say hi, and they freaked out, and then I went to, like, shake their hands, and, like, I zapped out his eyeballs. Sorry.
My hand slipped.
But I will say it is very much a thing, though, where our government probably does know a lot more. Governments around the world know a lot more than they let on. And for a fact, if they were to just tell everybody, like, oh yeah, so this is a thing, it would cause mass panic because systems would just be upheaved at that point.
But you gotta think, people get scared. If they just think about COVID-19 for like just 2 seconds. When they told us we were all gonna go on lockdown and shut down, first thing everybody did was we bought bleach, Lysol
Toilet
wipes,
paper.
and
Toilet paper.
toilet paper. Why was
Oh.
toilet paper our first thing to grab?
Because people didn't want to be doing laundry.
What?
You're gonna soil yourself, or you're gonna use a fucking cloth to wipe yourself? Think, please.
But I don't know. That is like insane.
I don't think it was necessary that the fact that there was literally a toilet paper shortage. Like, people were hoarding that shit. And still buying it. I was like, we're not going to be on lockdown for that long, and now you're just making everybody else's lives more miserable.
I don't know. People are so crazy when it comes down to that stuff. Like, I remember anytime we got like a snowstorm, first things out of a grocery store are bread and milk.
Eggs, which are the first things to go bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, people freak out, and you know,
I mean,
I
bread and
I
milk
have-
you can freeze. But you can freeze milk or a milkshake.
It's ice cream.
just got
Yeah,
shaken.
duh.
That's how you get the shake part.
A milkshake, that's ice cream. Oh, wait.
I never said I was smart.
What do you use to make ice cream, Lauren?
No, 'cause that looks
Almond
nothing
milk.
like you get the
No.
shake from shaking the frozen milk.
No.
But, and it's definitely something my dad has talked about too, because me and my dad like to go back and forth about this kind of stuff. And, you know, even my dad, you know, Air Force veteran, he's like, yeah, no, they know a lot more than they let on.
Yeah.
They just can't say anything.
So next week we got some more stories from you from around the country and some other spooky stories. And I think from me, I think that's everything. Next CT, you guys want to have anything else to add?
Don't be creepy and lick anybody's hand.
But stay spooky at the same time.
You can be spooky without licking somebody.
No, you can be spooky without being super creepy.
All right, guys, stay spooky. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.